All right, welcome everybody to the 2604 Aspen Inside Scoop. Let me get my screen shared here. All right. It is still coming up, I think. There we go. All right, so 2604. And down at the bottom, as always, we would like to say thank you to everybody contributing. And that's development, that's testing, that's documentation, and sponsoring development. So thank you to everybody contributing in all the various ways that you do. As always, there's still plenty of time to get your name into the testing and documentation thanks. You can do that by, as you are testing things on test servers, make sure to update JIRA that says that you've tested it. If we see that you're testing, like with a Slack comment or something, we might tag you in there too. But the best way to do it is tag yourself in JIRA with documentation. If you're doing documentation in Confluence, it will automatically pull that over. If you have no clue what JIRA or Confluence are, let us know and we're happy to help you out. So without further ado, we've got quite a bit to go over today. So I'm going to just talk through a few things and then we'll get into the demo. So the first thing was DIS-2124. And what that allows is local administrators within a consortium. We found that the local administrators weren't restricting content properly. So if you only had permissions to, say, on our server, update the Aspen library, but not the Maple library, what actually happened is you could update neither. So we fixed that. So within a consortium, that's all working properly. And that's based off work that we're doing with Lynx to get them set up. And then the next one, I will actually demo this one. So 2198, we've made some updates to the performance report. This has been here for ever. I mean, many, many years. But the page load times weren't loading. This is a nice way to kind of get a qualitative view or a quantitative view of how fast pages are loading. So in this case, it will update automatically, tell you how many times you've loaded, how quickly it is. So within half a second, etc. In general, we want those all to be green. Things that take a little bit longer, maybe yellow. And generally, we only want things where we know we're like going out to a third-party site to take very long at all. So we can see like some of these, that's our monitoring. These are things like fetching patron holds and patron checkouts. So those are things where if we're going out to Koha or going out to CarlX or Symphony or Sierra, it can take a little while, or any of the third-party systems. So good information for us to just kind of monitor the health and performance and see where we might need to do performance tuning. Next is DIS-2069, which is some CloudSource updates. I'm not going to go through them, but basically it's doing stuff, it's follow-up work that SirsiDynix sponsored to make sure that the Explore More is all looking good, make sure that you can bypass the record page that we create within Aspen to go straight to it, updating kind of where the access online links are, that kind of thing. So nice, just kind of quality of life things. Next, we're looking at DIS-2110. And for anybody that, when I say DIS-2110, I'm referring to JIRA. So though they are all linked within the release notes as well. With this is 2110, which is improving loading covers, especially for DVDs. So with DVDs, we kind of attacked a couple of different places. So within some of the order records that Midwest Tape provides, there are actually URLs to the cover art within the 856. So we are looking for those specifically, and if they exist, we are displaying that cover. So here we get that Marty Supreme cover. The other thing we looked at is OMDB integration. With OMDB, we can periodically get an incorrect cover because some of the dates are tricky. So typically with cataloging, we're cataloging the date the DVD or Blu-ray was released. OMDB wants the date the the theatrical release date, which we don't have. What we added was checking of who the directors are. So we're looking at a few different fields, trying to match the director to the information we're getting from OMDB. When we get that, you will see that the image source will update to OMDB title and director. That will tell us that, yeah, we verified that the director is the same. That work is all sponsored by Metro. All right, next, we've been talking, so the next thing we'll talk about is DIS-2177. I'm not going to demo this again, but it is for LiDA, and it is with Scan and Go. We've had some cases where Scan and Go, you scan the barcode and you either get a partial barcode, or for some reason, maybe it's garbled if the barcode isn't great. What LiDA will do now is after you scan the barcode, if it doesn't find a match in the catalog, it will present that barcode to you again, so that you can edit it and kind of compare it to what the sticker has, just to make it so that you're able to reprocess that if the label's bad or something like that. That was sponsored by CLEVNET. Then for those of you going to the Aspen LiDA meetings, we've been talking a lot about performance. We have a new kind of hidden page where we can track API requests. All right, this is DIS-2101, and this functionality is sponsored by Jackson County in Oregon. And this, if you've been to the LiDA groups recently, we've been talking quite a bit about this functionality. So we've got the ability to do some optional logging of LiDA requests for a patron. So if you go to /myaccount/app requests, this is a hidden URL that basically we're just going to be using for debugging and diagnostics. So what happens is when we want to start looking to see what's going on, we'll turn this on, and then we're going to go over to our LiDA simulator. And we're just going to click around into a few different things. So we're going to load, let's go into reading history. So it's loading all that information for us. And then let's maybe go back to checked out titles. And we'll look at our finds. Which just takes us over to discovery. So Let's close that. Let's maybe look at our linked accounts. All right, so we've got lots of good things there that we can look into. Maybe we look into that's probably enough. Let's go into our locations. So there we've got information about those. Now when we go back to discovery, and typically we'd be leaving this on for a while somebody's using it so that we get a full picture of how it's going. It does refresh every day so that we're not storing it for too long, and we're not storing any PII or any of that kind of thing. So you can see like usernames and passwords are blanked out. So but we can see everything that's going on. So here, like the prepare shared session is when we went over to the finds. This was loading our reading history. We're looking for user lists. We can see this is probably a good case where we could do some optimization to say, do we need to make a call both for with and without pagination? We're getting checked out items and holds and additional information like that. So this is going to be really, really useful for us debugging. And yeah, thanks to Jackson County again for sponsoring that. Next thing we wanted to talk about was so this is actually let's go back here. This is an accessibility update that Ronell Irwin from SELCO developed. This is DIS 1174. And what happens is if the very first time you load the page, if you click tab, you're going to get a skip to main content link. This is really useful for people using screen readers. It just kind of jumps you down to the main content so you can skip through all the menus and that kind of thing. So really nice little enhancement that our community is contributing. We wanted to make sure we called out. And that was DIS 1174. Next, we're going to look at some search and indexing updates. Let's go. Okay. So the first one is DIS 2012 and DIS 2118. What we found with the Load for Kids sideload is they provide 041s, but not 008s. So here we've got a bunch of cupcakes. We have many, many pages of the same video that's been done in different languages. These originally were all grouped into one, which was not very useful. Let's go ahead and look at one of these. We'll just look at one of the MARC records for this. So we can see, looking at our staff view, down here we've got the 041 that says this is Persian, and the 008 that is not filled out. So now we're able to determine the primary language based off that information, which really, really helps these groupings, specifically that Load for Kids. And that functionality was all sponsored by Orange County. Next, we're looking at some additional foreign language updates. So this is DIS 2109, which is looking at the 880 fields. So the way O'Reilly has provided these is the 245 tends to just be these brackets. brackets with period. Then they're linking out to the 880. And here in the 880, we've got the 245 that says here's the actual correct title. So we're utilizing that information both for grouping as well as for display purposes. So if we do just a blank search for O'Reilly records, and we look at some of the other languages, we can see the Chinese ones don't have it as much. Let's go back and look at a Persian one. Or Korean. So there we get those 880s again. So previously, again, all of those were just grouped with the single title of the less than, greater than, period, which not very useful for people looking for those. So great functionality. This is functionality that Lynx has sponsored. So thank you to them. Next, we're going to look at DIS 2021, which is big books. These are my new cool format. Big books are literally giant books that can be used for like story time. So like 2 foot by 3 foot books, really cool. Yeah, if anybody has like an actual picture of one, that would be fun. So we are looking and saying these are determined as big books based off the presence of the 655. So if we get a 655A that is either big book or big books, then we will show that they are big books. The next thing that we're looking at is DIS 2116, which is controlling what eContent functionality is shown within the shelf location facet. So currently we have shelf locations are can include all of the eContent sources, which is kind of confusing because they're not a shelf. We have the ability now in grouped work display settings to, under the search facets, we can say include eContent in the shelf locations facet. That is defaulted on the upgrade. If we turn that off, then they will disappear. These do need a reindex. But we can see, so like if we go to, let's go into one of our Hoopla records. We'll just do a force reindex on it. So we can do a force reindex, and as soon as that updates, which can take a couple of minutes, then we will see the number here go down from 113 to 112. Over the course of the day, it would go down as well, and then overnight they would all go away. So let me just take a few minutes to run. This functionality was sponsored by Orange County, so nice way to just kind of break those up. It's always easy to get to the eContent through the eContent collection facet, so you don't really need it in the shelf location. You can avoid confusing patrons. All right. Next, let's just see if that has indexed. Not quite yet. The next thing we wanted to talk about was the where is it functionality. So Share sponsored this as part of DIS 1984. So traditionally, the where is it has been a summary of all of the different editions. So here it's saying that 4 out of 5 copies are available in the Aspen Library graphic novel location, what the call number is, if that varied at all. Other than availability, it would display a second row. We have a new setting, again, in grouped work display settings. So under format and edition display, the where is it display style, summary is the traditional one. We can switch to item details. And when we do that, now when we click where is it, we can see all of those copies. We can see we have one that's not available, the other 4 are available. The one that's not available is in transit. So it's going to match the information displayed in the copies for the record. Yeah, so give people a little bit more information if they need it. Next, wanted to talk about DIS 2128 and 2205. These are some updates to the advanced search that Theke Solutions developed. So within the advanced search, in the optional filters, the list of facets was always hard-coded to 100, which was fine for a lot of things, but there are things where like the subject may not be complete. So there is now more options, which pops up a message. So if we search for, let's just search for cat, it will bring up things. Should bring up things with cats. So there's cat juvenile fiction. So there's additional fiction. Then you can select from those and apply it and then do your search. It is still limited to only doing one at a time. But you can now find some of those hidden ones. All right. Next, we have the ability to go to the holds page after a successful hold is placed. This is DIS 2187, sponsored by Metro. So if we place a hold here on our catstronauts, we can pick this up at Aspen Library. And once we submit, we will be given the option to go to the holds, just as a nice kind of workflow for patrons that might want to go there immediately to see all of those. So we can see there's our catstronauts. So this will display for all ILSs except for Sierra, because Sierra processes those in the background, and it can take 30 seconds or a minute for them to show up. So we didn't want to send people there and kind of make them have to refresh. All right, next we have some series updates. So the first thing now is we've updated so that the search interpreter is able to do a series search. So we have a new option down at the bottom called Trigger Series Search. This is disabled by default. But if we go back and if we do a search and we say if we look for cat series, then we will get a message saying, hey, we're redirected to the series search for more relevant results. And we can see all of our series with cats in them again. So nice for people that are maybe looking for the Harry Potter series or for a romance series. They can find those a little bit more easily. And again, obviously something that you turn on with Search Interpreter. If you click Restore Original Search, it'll take you back to where you were. All right. Also, and that's DIS 2183, again, sponsored by Lynx. We also have the ability to, let's go back here. So let's just look for Dogman. So next we've got DIS 2108, which is the ability to show also in this series for titles even when the series module is active, but you don't have novelist, which is where it used to show. So here we've got Dogman, and also in the series we've got all of those options. So that then you can utilize the also in the series to kind of browse all of those series. And that's displaying the same information in the same order that you would get if you click on the series name. In this case, we only have the one available. So the rest are kind of placeholders. All right. And next is DIS 2122, which is within the administration of series, allowing series to be sorted by number of titles. So people tend to want to look at either the series with one title or the series with lots and lots of titles. So we can say here, let's search by the number of titles descending. So here we've got IBM Redbooks has 1,000 titles. These are likely those O'Reilly titles. We've got a bunch of for dummies. With these, you can kind of go through and say, do we want to show those? Are they really useful or not? So maybe they're things that patrons aren't really looking for. And we could hide those series so that they don't necessarily have to display in the series index. Similarly, we could sort by number of titles ascending and look at the single title things. So we could say, hey, maybe these things that only have one thing in them are not necessarily ones that we want. So maybe the classics to go, if there's only one title, we don't need it. And we can kind of go with that just to clean up our series index. That is DIS 2122, sponsored by SWAN. All right. Next, we have a bunch of Palace project updates. These are all sponsored by SWAN. It is DIS 1970, DIS 2230, DIS 2232, and DIS 2233. Let's log back in here. All right. So we've been displaying, if you have Palace Project active, the Access in Palace Project option. Not all libraries want that. It was also doing it just based off if the module was active, not necessarily if the library had it active. So it will now restrict showing that to only showing it if the active library has, or the library where this was checked out has Palace Project active. You can also choose to disable it for everybody within your Palace Project settings. So here there's a new show access in Palace Project for other eContent, which right now includes Overdrive and Cloud Library. It was also active for Boundless, but Boundless is no more. Hoopla titles you can't view in Palace Project, so it doesn't show those. So with that turned off, when we refresh this, then that just goes away. So nice way to just give you control over that. The other things that we did is some updates to if the status of Palace Project titles are out of date, which is normally just people checking things in and out very quickly, since we're indexing them within around 5 minutes now. It's really just I'm checking this in and out. We haven't had a chance for the index to catch up. It will just update the message that the patron gets back. So if something is available, but Aspen thinks it is checked out, the integration with Palace Project will automatically check it out to them, and vice versa. If it is checked out already, but Aspen thinks it is available, it will place a hold automatically for the patron. So just better information there. The other thing that we updated for Palace Project is some of the Palace Project titles have the same issue that we've seen for Overdrive and some of the others, where the some kind of common subtitles like Oprah's Book Club will show up within either the title or the subtitle. We're adjusting for that and removing those so that they will group better by default. So save us all a little bit of time doing some record grouping. All right. Next, we have some reporting updates. So this is DIS 1039 and DIS-2112, both sponsored by Metro. And these are allowing additional tracking of placards. So here we've got just on our usage dashboard within system reports, we are now showing all of the placard placard usage. So we can see A to Z Food in America has been shown a bunch of times. We can click on that and get our graphs, export the data. And those can all be filtered as well by the active instance. So if you're in a consortium, you can see how many times it has shown up for you. The other thing that it will do is if you have a web resource attached to your placard, so if we've automatically generated that A to Z Food in America placard based off our web resource, we can now count the number of views from the placard so that you can kind of see how effective the combination between your placards and your web resources are. Next, we have a collection report that was sponsored by Orange County. The idea here is that it is telling us how many records we have depending on the source. So it's saying, hey, we've got 60,000 different Palace Project records. We've got 2 million Hoopla records. We've got about 90,000 Overdrive records, 15,000 ILS records. Just allowing us to kind of see what all the catalog is made up of. And then we're also getting counts by format. So we can say, okay, books, we've got 12,000 books out of the ILS. E-magazines, we've got 6,600-ish from Overdrive and another 3,800 from the FDLP. Ebooks, we can kind of break those out as well. So you can compare and say, okay, well, ebooks, we've got 65,000. and audiobooks we're getting 16.6. So just good ways to compare to what you think you have. That helps, especially when we're trying to compare grouped works to records. So if you're doing a search for, hey, how many titles do we have from Overdrive, it can be really hard to tell based off the grouped works because you can combine multiple editions. So that's DIS 1985, sponsored by Orange County. Then the last thing I'm going to show, or the last section of things, is all related to user lists. First, we've got DIS 541, which was sponsored by MCFLS. And this allows us to first customize the author name for a user list, and then also be able to customize the lists that we use while we're searching. So let's look at the first part of that first. So previously, a lot of people have been creating shared user cards that they've been modifying with the name of, they've been modifying the display name in order to kind of get the right thing to show up in the results. So let's find one here. So let's look at holiday crafts for adults. We can edit this and we can see, okay, so this will show up if the list is public. So we're going to make this public. We're going to say that we're showing the search results, so it has to be shown in the search results. And we have to show the list author in search. So if you are not showing the list author in search results, then it's just going to default to a generic kind of library staff account for the display. So we're going to do this, and we're going to call this Grove Adult Library. Because this is our history crafts for adults. This then allows, it would actually combine for multiple users. And you don't have to go through all the rigmarole of trying to come up with a name and sharing that and that kind of thing. So we'll just update that. This will also, when you create a new list, let you do the same thing. And now when we search for our lists, it'll take it a minute to reindex, but let's just do a search. So here we've got who created it. So I had set up Aspen Adult Services earlier. We're going to have Aspen Adult Librarian show up here in a second. We could combine those as well. And then we still have my Noble one. So it'll take it a second here while we're waiting for that to index. It'll take 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes or so. Let's look at the options we have to adjust the facets. So the facets here, we've got the ability to do added in the last, updated in the last, and created by. Those are edited in the user list settings. So if we go into those settings, we can edit those. So by default, there will be a default, oh, sorry, not user list settings. We want user lists and the facets, user list facet settings. So we're going to have one that is set up here by default. By default, it's going to be empty. So we're going to have no facets. And then you can just add them each in there. So we've got the created by, the added in the last, updated in the last. You can change the order of these. So if we want to say, hey, we want things that were added before created, and we want the created by and added in the last open by default. We're sorting in this case the created by alphabetically, but you could also do by number of results. We'll save that. And then when we come back and do our search, we can see we get our added in the last, we get our created by, updated in the last. So however you have those set up, and that did reindex. So we do have the Grove Adult Librarian ones now. And we can see that the created by is updated there. So that's great functionality. We're really excited for that. The next thing is DIS 1556, which is sponsored by Metro. And this allows transferring lists and list groups between users. So let's go into my lists. And if we go to, let's go to our classics, say I'm moving into a different role in the library. I'm no longer going to be managing these. We're going to move these to Miranda. So we're going to say transfer this list. This is going to go to Miranda. We just enter their barcode or username, and we get a confirmation that says we're going to do that. And then that list is owned by Miranda, and we no longer have it in our list. So nice functionality there for when you're trying to share kind of the workload between different librarians, or if somebody leaves and you want to have them move all of their lists to a different user before they leave. We can also transfer a list group. So we can say transfer the entire list group. So this would transfer, in this case, all of my unassigned lists. I could also transfer my recommended by Aspen library, the if you likes. So we could transfer that. We can also transfer all lists to somebody else. Once these are transferred, you will get a message that it has been transferred. So you're going to get an email, because otherwise it'd be hard to see that you've got something new within Aspen. So it'll send you an email so that you know that that's them. So that's all of our 26.05 updates, or sorry, 26.04 updates. I'm already ahead of myself. So again, thank you to everybody that has contributed, and thank you to all of our libraries that are sponsoring such fun work. So it's a great release, and we're excited to get it out there.